Today we're going to be talking about ramen. So, what is ramen? Ramen is a Japanese noodle soup with a combination of broth, one of a variety types of noodles, and a selection of different meats or vegetables, often topped with a soft-boiled egg. To begin, we must first learn about the main components to ramen. What really makes up a nice warm bowl of noodle soup? So, there are four main basic components. We have our broth, our sauce, our noodles, and our toppings. First, we have the broth. It's the base, and it's what gives us the richness and the majority of the flavor. The soup base / broth often starts with ingredients such as chicken, pork, seafood, and / or vegetables, which means a vegetarian base is fully possible. There are different types of broth for ramen, with different colors and personalities. Some are clear soup and some are white soup, and different temperatures, different boiling temperatures often help create this difference. Number two is the sauce. This is the sauce or seasoning for the broth, as the name suggests. It provides a depth and a saltiness to the soup, and some common ingredients used for the sauce are soy sauce, wine, sake, kombu, which is kelp, niboshi, which is dried sardines, miso, or salt. Number three, noodles. The noodles used in ramen are unique to ramen, and this is what sets it apart from other noodle soups. Ramen noodles are composed of plain water, wheat flour, and alkaline water. Two types of water. Wow. The water and wheat form the structure, the normal water and wheat form the structure of the noodles through starch and gluten bonds, while the alkaline water interacts with the protein in the flour, which give the noodles their distinct chewy texture and yellow hue. Salt is sometimes added in order to bring out flavor of the noodle, and it helps strengthen the structure as well. As I said, eggs can be added in fresh or powdered form to add tenderness and a bounce, with their proteins and fats added to the noodles. The most difficult aspect of making noodles is getting the ratio from water to flour right, and this is really hard to perfect. Number four, toppings. Toppings add a certain visual appeal and can help elevate a bowl of ramen. Some common toppings are green onions, bamboo shoots, seaweed, and soft-boiled eggs. They also help add some substance to ramen, because without toppings, it would just be a soup and noodles, which really isn't that much and doesn't really provide a variety of different nutritional facts or anything. Toppings are also, you can really experiment with them. There's really no fixed certain toppings that you have to have on your ramen each time. There's a really large variation. Starting with instant noodles, compared to ramen, they're really just a mimic of the original thing. The purpose of instant noodles is really for quick cooking times, really salty and tasty food, and they're supposed to be easy. It's easy to just boil water, throw in the noodles, and just add the powder to it, which makes the broth. Most of these instant noodles, because long shelf life is so important, they double fry the noodles, which really isn't the freshest way. Doesn't really give you the freshest noodles once you eat them compared to ramen. And also the broth is really it's a powder, right? So it really has MSG, sodium, and other flavors, which it doesn't really have the same depth or richness as ramen would have. Also, with a package of instant noodles, it doesn't really come with any toppings of any sort. It doesn't really. It just has noodles and the sauce, or the broth. And so it's really one-dimensional. There's no added stuff which gives you more substance and flavor, and it doesn't really have that certain aspect to it. Now for ramen. The noodles are usually made by hand by ramen shop owners or by the chefs, and they're usually made the day they're supposed to be eaten, so like the morning of. And the broth is also created by scratch, usually using real ingredients and real vegetables and meat. And by using different techniques and ingredients, it really adds more depth and more flavor, more richness to the broth than just powder would from the instant noodles. It also, when you go order ramen from a restaurant or shop, it would usually come with toppings on it, right? You have vegetables, meats, the egg, some onions, sometimes spring onions. So this would also add more flavor to the bowl and also really tie everything together and make it more substantial. Time for some ramen facts. Fact number 1, the majority of ramen shops in Japan are small businesses. I think this is great for keeping a certain level of authenticity to ramen, and also because there's so many different types and variations of ramen, each shop would be able to have its own unique niche or type of ramen that it would serve. Fact number 2, there's a food-themed amusement park in Yokohama, Japan, dedicated to ramen called the Ramen Museum. Fact number 3, in Japan you can get ramen out of a vending machine, which is super cool. I think that's super awesome. Instead of getting chips or like a chocolate bar, you can have warm ramen that comes out in a can. It includes soup, noodles, bamboo shoots, pork, and comes with a small plastic fork. That's super cute. I love that. It's awesome. That's the end of my little spiel about ramen. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something.